Friends Forever is the title of a new fiction book addressing the topic of mental health in young adults and also tackles depression and insecurities through a story about friendship. Real life BFFs Shannon Hale and Leywin Pham are the pair behind Friends Forever. It's a story about learning to love yourself exactly as you are. And Shannon is here today to tell us more about their book project. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, great to be here.
So this isn't the first time that the two of you have worked together on a book. This is the third graphic memoir you've worked on together. You're the writer.
Yeah,
Leywin was the illustrator. So talk about this working relationship. Are you real life BFFs?
we really are. We love each other so much. The first book was Real Friends, and these are memoirs, so that's little me. And I write and she illustrates. And then the second book is Best Friends, and we loved that title because it is about finding your best friend. But it is created by two best friends. She does the most amazing illustrations. It's the most beautifully told story. I couldn't have put my true story in anyone's better hands.
Oh my goodness, that looks beautiful. So when it comes to writing books, you have to do this together. I mean, how's that communication? How does that work?
It is. We joke that this either would have made this process made us really close friends or torn the friendship apart because it is an intense thing to create a graphic novel. I don't think there's any book that's more challenging, and I've published 40 books than a graphic novel. But I first write the script. And so it's sort of like writing a screenplay where you describe what's happening in the visuals as well as any of the dialogue, etc. And then she goes in and she does all of the illustrations. It's intensive for her as well as for me.
Oh my goodness. And we're looking at something kind of like an animated version. You know, graphic novels seem to be a pretty big popular trend right now, especially for younger readers. Talk about using like that graphic novel to tell the story and send your message.
Yeah, so I've written a lot of novels, but for this project, I wanted to do graphic novel because it's so much about feelings. I grew up with an undiagnosed anxiety disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder, and by eighth grade, it really led into a deep depression. And in the 1980s, we didn't talk about that. I didn't have the words for it, but I felt so much that I wanted to have a graphic novel show readers how it feels. So kids could point to a page and show their parents, this is how I'm feeling. And it's easier for them to communicate with someone when they don't have the words for it.
And you talk about your own personal disorder. And in these books, you really do tackle a lot of these issues that readers of that age might be feeling. And so, Friends Forever, what are some of the other topics you're tackling and addressing?
Wait, eighth grade is complicated. There's a lot going on in eighth grade. And I wanted to be really true to that experience. Interestingly, there are fewer books written about 13-year-olds than any other age of young reader. And I wanted to show what the truth of my eighth grade year really was so that readers could read and feel, seen and heard. But eighth graders this past year, both Lei Win, the illustrator, and I had an eighth grader last year who was home all year because of COVID. So what they've been going through has been extraordinarily challenging. And I think having a book that understands the challenges of that age, or how it feels to be depressed, how confusing, how lonely that is, I hope that readers can feel seen, and I hope that parents who read it can understand their kids better.
And when it's all said and done in these books, what are you hoping that you're telling as far as the story of friendship? What do you hope that people learn about friendship when they read your books?
Boy, everything is okay as long as you have a good friend. I think being a good friend to other people is so important, but also being a good friend to yourself. I think the key change I made in my life when I was battling with depression is to start talking to myself in my head the way I would talk to my best friend.
And speaking of best friends, how long have you and Leywin been friends?
We've known each other for about 18 years.
Oh,
We started
wow.
working together on an early chapter book series called The Princess of Black in 2012. But it was really through the process of doing these graphic novel memoirs together that we became like soulmates. I love her so much.
Well, I love that. I love two women working together, telling their story and really giving back. I appreciate that, Shannon. You can keep up with Shannon on Instagram at Squeetus.